Welcome. The mic again, Mr. Sheriff, you are.
No.
Not anymore? Yeah.
I'm Carl.
Thanks. Okay. There's a couple things to change. As the agenda goes, we're going to report from Owens County Sheriff. Also, I want to amend the minutes from last meeting. There's some confusion. Cindy was appointed as town clerk as of January, as of July 28th, and Jessica was hired as assistant town clerk at the same time. Dan, I know you have some issues about why it was executive session. I'd like to take a second to explain that to you.
Could I expand on that?
Excuse me?
Could I expand on the
Sure.
comment? The main objection I have is prior to going into executive session, we did not announce an open session that the town clerk had resigned.
It was just a resignation from the town employee, so we didn't specify.
Yeah, you did mention while everyone was here that the town clerk had resigned, and since the executive session was done, I mean, was the last thing, everyone left, so no one had known about it prior to that. What you did about the resignation or appointment or anything, yeah, I could agree with the executive council, but I was upset that it wasn't brought up prior, the resignation wasn't brought up prior to the executive session.
Okay, I apologize for that. I guess we should have said that Jessica was resigning, but it wasn't just, the thing about this one, it wasn't just like she was getting done and she was resigning and giving her 2 week notice and she was gonna be going away. All right, so it was basically a role reversal between the assistant town clerk, who is a hired person, and Jessica, who was an elected official. And at this point, she was going to become, it was basically an interview session. Really. So that was a confusion, and I apologize if we didn't say it was Jessica per se. I make mistakes, I know that, so. Anyway. And also, as far as the request from the Department of Health and for the septic around the Shadow Lake Association said they did not they're not hoping to have it mandated, they just were hoping to have it done. So we need to change that. So we will sign these at the next meeting. Now on a happy note. Eric, we'd like to take a minute to recognize you and your years of service to the town of Glover, and let you know how much we appreciate everything you've done and are continuing to do. Brian's got a little something.
So, Mr. Dunbar resigned, got through his road foremanship when I was chair back in the late spring. And so at the time, we all thought, well, we should recognize Harvey for the work he's done. So we drafted up a resolution identifying your work, and I just want to take a minute to read that before presenting it to you. We also have a card and such, but a Glover Select Board resolution of recognition. Since 2006 AD, Mr. Harvey Dunbar has dedicated his public career ensuring the citizens of Glover drive on the safest, smoothest, and most picturesque roads in the state of Vermont. Whereas thousands of Glover school children have safely traveled from home to and from school with little or no danger from the vigorous and unpredictable winter elements. Whereas Harvey's belief in minimal road signage has added beauty and rural bliss to Glover back roads. Whereas Harvey's skilled collaboration with state highway coordinators has ensured Glover gets the maximum amount of highway funding allowed by law. Whereas Harvey's love and admiration of the beaver has prompted a heartfelt advocacy for protecting this species and their lodge habitat whenever possible. Whereas Harvey's judicious and skilled response to public commentary has endeared his reputation as a good listener who was also soft-spoken when under pressure. Whereas Harvey's leadership as a road foreman has influenced the work, skills, and longevity of many a road crew. Whereas Harvey's noticeable skills in the driving of multi-axle trucks in a manner similar to daredevil feats and gymnastics, akin to what one might see at a county fair, only his stage is on Dexter Mountain Road. Whereas Harvey has shown the flexibility in juggling careers by moving from a farming career to a public servant, only to return back to a farming career. Let it be resolved that the town of Glover Select Board and staff on the second day of May in the year 2022, from the bottom of our hearts, thank Mr. Harvey Dunbar for his work and dedication to the citizens and families of Glover Town, and wish him the best in his new career. Brian Carroll, Dave Simmons, Leanne Harvey. Could have been more.
Thanks again, Harvey. You've done a wonderful job. It's truly, truly appreciated.
Now, do you want to come back?
He's never really left. Road update, right?
Finished ditching on Barron Hill, did home gravel, finished getting that today.
Harvey's truck's back, his new truck's back, everything's good.
Expensive, good.
Yep. All right. Catherine, welcome. You're next on the agenda.
Yeah, awesome. You know,
Yeah,
Sure, please.
speaking fast. I just wanted to check in. We've adjourned for the summer and, you know, I'm calling it a listening tour. Want to, hitting all the towns and just share a little bit of an update about the work we were able to do in Montpelier and how it might impact Glover, but really want to hear from you about how we're doing and what we can do better and what challenges Glover and the community is facing. And maybe first to say, it's been an honor to serve as your state rep for the last 2 years. Hearing from folks by email and phone and text, has been invaluable so that I can try to represent our community here in Montpelier. It was quite a first term where we were all remote for the first year, and then back in person starting in January, and have a historic federal stimulus and state surplus that allowed us to do some really big things. We passed a historic $8 billion budget that made transformational investments in broadband, housing, childcare, climate resiliency, mental health, workforce development. I think we tried really hard to use our federal stimulus one-time money to do one-time things that would, help us all have a better future. And that included, fully funding our pre-K through 12 system while reducing property taxes by $35 million this year. So, we are seeing, homestead rates, lower than they have been historically. And, one issue that I worked really hard on that I think will positively impact our communities is we were able to fix our education funding formula to really truly account for the cost of ensuring equal outcomes for all kids. In high poverty rural communities like ours, it takes more resources to achieve the same outcomes. And we were finally able to, based on recommendations from experts, implement weights that adjust to equalize people that really better account for the needs in our communities. And I think that will be transformational for our community. One thing I wanted to call attention to, trying to spread the word about the work we did around the Municipal Energy Resilience Grant. So we're investing $45 million in a new program for municipal, all municipalities, so including fire and water districts, to conduct energy assessments of existing buildings, and then only recommendations. And then once communities have gone through that, they can apply for up to $500,000 to make systems improvements. So switch out or add supplemental, heating systems, weatherize buildings, make upgrades, knowing that, so many towns own beautiful buildings like this, but that may take a lot to heat in the winter, and, so helping reduce emissions and save taxpayer dollars. So the RFP and process for that new program is just being developed by BGS, Building Grants and Services, and we don't have a timeline yet for when, communities can apply, but you'll be eligible for technical assistance to look at all the existing buildings that the town owns, and then apply for funding to implement those recommendations. So, keep that in mind as you, identify needs.
And what was the maximum amount?
So up to $500,000. And, knowing, our goal is to make this program available to all communities, not those just with like a lot of capacity to track grants and write really good applications. And so part of our work in the community I served on was to ensure that there's adequate support for communities to be aware of the program and to write the application. So the RPCs, like up here, and NVDA, are tasked with providing support to make sure that you all know about the program, that you have support to apply for it. And so if it's something that you think you're interested in looking into, I would recommend reaching out to NVDA and Davidson and say, hey, I'm potentially interested, keep us in the loop, we want help applying. I really want to make sure it doesn't just go for the big accounts. And one other thing that I want to flag, I don't know where you all are in your ARPA allocation process, but I want to make sure that you're aware that it can be used for broadband investment. And
We were just talking about.
have you talked about that in the 3-2-1 match?
So there was an article in the Chronicle, Derby has elected to use ARPA funds, and it just, my question was, so if there's other, I guess I would be a little concerned in recommending to the board their decision, but it seems like there's other grants that would be available, and we haven't heard much from the CUD.
Yeah, so that's sort of another hat I wear sitting on that CUD board, and so it can try to provide a little bit of additional information. So the goal of the NEK broadband CD is to reach every unserved and underserved modern. And so the goal is all 55 towns. So Glover is a member of town. And so it's not a question of whether Glover will be built out or not, but this is an opportunity to access additional ARPA dollars that will help accelerate the build and ensure that those addresses in Glover get built potentially slightly faster timeline. So there's a process to identify priority addresses, learning, telehealth, and other specific addresses in every town that are eligible to access this ARPA funding. And if the town puts in some of its own ARPA money, it'll be matched 2 to 1. So you put in $30,000, you get an additional $60,000 from the state ARPA pot. It's first come, first serve.
So we wouldn't work through the CUD, it would be separate, this is separate.
So it does go through the seed. So the kind of first step is, if you're interested, have to connect with Chris, the executive director of NEK Broadband. She will put together a proposal and identify the routes that you might consider and what the cost of building those routes out would be. And then you can consider that, and if you want to, you can enter into a contract and and say, we'll leverage our ARPA dollars, and then the CD can use that to access the additional state money. And so that will help us build the network in the whole kingdom faster, and it will help ensure that those addresses in Glover get built on a sooner timeline. And, we were just, so Craftsbury is considering this. Wolcott is, I think Carter has moved forward with the proposal. And in Craftsbury, they gave us 3 possible routes that had eligible addresses, and then we, investigate that a little further. And I think we're just going to propose one of those routes. So it's not an all or nothing. It can be a back and forth conversation with the CD about knowing what you know about the kind of on the ground. What makes the most sense. Do you want me to connect you with Chris and just even learn more? Is that?
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I can, want me to be the point person on who's getting it set up?
Yep.
Yeah. Because we were gonna ask our CUD
Yeah.
rep to come talk about it, but if this is a little separate, it sounds like this would be a better way to go.
It is, and Krista can put that together. She put it in, it was like a day or two. She put together the proposal for Craftsbury. We just realized we had some community meetings. We needed to have that together. And it is first come, first serve in terms of the matching funding, and that does expire in like October. So, yeah, so those are the 2 things I wanted to just sort of flag as resources. And maybe the last thing is that I know how closely folks have been following the redistricting process, but that happens statewide, and it does have an impact in the House district here. And so we've been a 2-member district with Barton, Albany, Greensboro, Glover, Sheffield, and Wheelock, and now we're a single seat district for the House, which is Albany, Glover, Craftsbury, and Greensboro. And so, that will be a change for folks.
It's a neat little square.
It is, it's like a perfect little square, and we're nearly spot on for the target number of population in the district. So that's kind of a fun fact. And I think ultimately, we were responding to feedback from local or the civil authorities that, Sheffield and Wheelock maybe on a map look like they're together, but, there's a giant mountain in between, and, they're different counties, and it, didn't really make sense on the ground to have those communities together. And Barton is now in a new single member district with Bradenton and Westmore. So, they got their thing, we got a square here, and Sheffield and Wheelock is now with Linden and Newark and Sutton, which, it's a challenging jigsaw to put that puzzle together and have the right number in every district across the entire state. One thing and it affects everything else. But I'm going to stop on there. My head really is, I'd love to hear from you. Are there things you want to flag?
I think probably one of the biggest things that we've been dealing with is the teachers and the ability to retain them and to pay them. I know Barton, it's not Glover's lost 17 aides and teachers this year alone. Glover's lost its entire middle school. There's a lot of people really looking to what is the state going to help out with that? What can we expect? I mean, there's people who deserve the word. So
Yeah, I get 2 kids, and dropping them off at school is real important every day.
Yeah.
Their learning and their social well-being and my ability to go to work. And our small schools are the heart of our communities. And hearing issues about how hard these last 2 years have been, and also understanding it's really hard to be competitive from a wage perspective. And you can move further south and make $130,000 more. It's really challenging to recruit.
I mean, we got teachers in there that can actually take a job at Hazelwood and make way more money than they are here.
And so, that's part of, our work this last year to fix the underlying funding formula. So, the weights that we had that were adjusting, equalized pupils, which lead to our taxing capacity, which lead to our ability to raise resources, weren't really adequately accounting for costs. And so, we've seen all of our schools have to stretch budgets really far to keep their basic needs. Stories I heard about mold in the basement in Kingdom East are, really frightening. And so moving forward, although unfortunately it won't be until FY25 that the new weights take into effect. And that will allow our schools to pass the same budgets and see taxes go down, or raise more resources but have taxes stay the same, and help us, I think, be more competitive around wages long term. And those weights will be fully implemented. Initially there was some conversation about rolling in the weights over time, but they will be fully implemented FY25. So that's a part of the solution. We were also able to make some changes in terms of pensions to allow teachers to come back from retirement without impacting their pensions and retirements, to try to help encourage folks who, you know, maybe have left the workforce, consider coming back. And we'll see whether that helps. And, you know, that doesn't, you know, you're not seeing those positions filled immediately.
Mhm.
And, you know, we need to keep doing more. You know, we've also been looking at Act 173 and the special ed funding. You know, I don't know how much that impacts Glover, but, you know, moving to a census block means that our schools are getting a certain fixed amount per kid for special education as opposed to responding to our needs. And I've been in conversation with North Country Supervisor about how that's going to significantly impact special ed funding, total net loss of $1 million, which, you know, for communities that are serving high populations of special needs students, just you know, doesn't work. And the weights are supposed to help address that, but we have this gap here where we're, you know, so I'm going to be pushing harder through the next session for more transitional money to help soften that transition to a census block funding for special ed while we're waiting for the new weights to take effect, because our schools need resources to be able to provide quality service and recruit effective teachers. But you know, sounds like there are some plan Bs in motion, but I know it's really scary. to know
It's,
that
yeah, I mean, that's, we had a
Vacancies.
young gal come in, you know, and gave us a heartfelt, she wanted us to use ARPA money to try to retain some teachers and to get some bonuses and that kind of stuff. And it's just, it seems like the supervisory union needs to do something at some point to get through until whenever the state can do something to help. But
What do you think about statewide contract?
Yeah, so I've heard that from a few people, and again, you know, love to hear what other folks, you know, thought on, you know, and so certainly the idea of not having competition across schools, because there's a, you know, consistent contract, I think would help address some of those challenges. And hearing from Jen Fox, who joined the superintendent of Kingdom East, about how many folks come up on provisional licenses, they work here for a year or two, they get their license, and then boom, they're gone and somewhere else, you know, where, you know, you know, we want to be competitive. I think some of the challenges, you know, if there's a consistent contract across the whole state, that's probably going to raise wages for everyone. Where does that funding come from? And that's where it's key to have a funding formula that really adequately accounts for costs and different needs and communities. But I certainly heard that from a lot of people, and something that I'll be bringing forward this year for sure. And
I've got a wife in district business manager. I know she would like to see that.
yeah, that's great. You know, and so maybe we can follow up. You know, I really see my role as bringing your all voices to the table, and I worked hard on the weeding issue to make sure that we had testimony from, you know, folks in our community, and it would be great to have folks, you know, come talk about what Glover and, you know, the district is experiencing and the challenges it means on the ground. Because your voices are really what means legislators make better policy. We've got to make sure you're all advocating. Anything else that's sort of top of mind for folks that we're doing well or we need to be paying more attention to?
I don't know where cell service fits in. I'm increasingly frustrated about having drop calls in our little area, and I guess that's much different than the broadband. But it's the same outcome. No communication, and I don't know if there's anything statewide that's going to be employed to try to equalize the differences between rural cell coverage and urban cell coverage.
Yeah. So connectivity matters, right? It's like a safety issue. We never have to be able to call for help in too many spots. Like I know my route home. And I'm like, oh, coming around that bend, I'll call you back. And there was a proposal put forward. You know, we had that in our committee, and it was $50 million would have maybe gotten 100 cell towers across the entire state. The Department of Public Service was going to do drive tests to like gather more data about where we have coverage and where we don't. And then identify locations that, you know, could help address some of the biggest gaps in coverage, and then support community sort of conversations about where to put those towers, because sometimes we've seen in some communities that can be a really contentious issue and conversation. We want coverage, and, you know, sometimes folks don't want it, you know, in their view shed or, you know, in their property. You know, this would have used state dollars, build those towers and help incentivize providers to get on it. Because we're just not seeing those for-profit private companies, you know, build towers in places where they're not gonna reach that many customers. I voted to move forward with that proposal. Unfortunately, it didn't make it into the kind of final ARPA budget. You know, I know how important connectivity is. Unfortunately, there just like weren't enough dollars to go around to advance that piece, and instead we focus on prioritizing, you know, the dollars to broadband first. That said, my understanding is the Department of Public Service is continuing to move forward with those drive tests to gather that data. Right now, all we have is self-reported data from the companies, and you know, you look at their maps and they say they cover everything, and we all know that's wishful thinking. And so, you know, I think that will be important to have better data to really identify where are the places with the biggest gaps, and have a conversation about where we find resources to build out that network. Thank you for highlighting that. That's an important issue.
My only other question is, you know, ARPA, when ARPA first came out, it really focused on human needs, housing, childcare. And I don't know if there's anything to be getting a cooperative of towns together, but I don't mean, the idea of trying to do anything with $315,000 for housing is just, you know, it's just fruitless unless there's towns getting together that have some kind of energy to organize and say, we want to have affordable housing because we need to, because there's not affordable housing. Is there any thoughts about how the hinterland towns can ever address housing?
Yeah, so housing is so important, right? And we're like in the middle of a housing crisis where you know, there are just not enough available units. I think like it's every day I see on public forums saying, you know, I need a place by next month, I can't find it. Or, you know, the stories about a house that was, you know, for sale $100,000 a year ago, and then it's $300,000. It's got multiple cash offers the day after it's listed. You know, we allocated significant resources towards the housing issue this year. We put 250 million towards housing. We also put 250 million towards broadband. And part of the challenge is, you know, money is a part of it, but then we got to build it, and we can't build a fiber network overnight. We can't build, you know, lots of units overnight. So we put good money into the system, both with affordable housing and also workforce housing. You hear from, you know, hospitals and schools, you know, about hiring folks. They want to move here and they want to take jobs, but they can't find housing. So it's, you know, not only affordable housing, but just you know, workforce housing as well. So that will help build net new units. It will help expand, you know, loan and home ownership programs to help people get into homes. We also extended the Vermont home improvement program. And I don't know if you're aware of this. If you have, or landlords who have units that are offline because of, you know, compliance issues, or if you have a barn, or, you know, you want to build an accessory dwelling unit on your single family residence, you can apply for funding up to $50,000 to bring that unit online. So again, if it's an apartment that can't be rented because it needs upgrades, or if you want to add a unit, you know, on your property, it's the Vermont Home Improvement Program, VHIP. It's run up here by Rural Edge. And so those are resources to try to help get some of our building stock back in action. Been having conversations with folks over the last few weeks about, hey, could we look at expanding that to single family residents? Knowing that there are a number of properties that are blighted or could, you know, benefit from upgrades, and often sometimes the cost of asbestos remediation or lead paint removal or the new roof can be a real barrier. And so as we go into the next session, I, you know, really want to be, you know, starting a conversation with others about what else can we do, especially towards small towns, not, you know, giant developments. You know, it's great what's happening in New Avenue in St. Johnsbury, but that's a different size and scale of work and what Glover needs. And how can we, you know, provide more resources to help, improve the quality of our housing stock, make it more available.
Okay.
And also just want to commend you on the work with the municipal planning grant that you've done. It sounds like there's a really exciting vision there. And, now more work to do to secure resources to move that forward. I've been talking with Randy and I would love to do what I can to help connect you with different funding sources.
We gotta get a deed to own the green first.
Okay, yeah, step one, figure out the land records.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, please keep me in the loop about that work as it moves forward and how I can help. And please don't hesitate to reach out. It's an honor and privilege to serve and want to be a strong voice for. This is so special. This is a special spot. So and thank you for all your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on, appreciate it.
See ya. Okay, yes.
Okay, ARPA update, Ryan.
Oh, yes. So Catherine covered some of what I was going to talk about, but let's see. Okay. So we have, as some of you know, the board has elected to recruit a committee to review ARPA applications. And it was part of that package, and I put an ad on Facebook, and we're going to actually put an ad in the Chronicle. And that was, so far we've had no takers to serve on the committee. And we hope we can generate some interest. So if you know of anyone, or if you yourself would want to be on this committee, let me know. And and we do have one application for ARPA funds that came in with our new app proposal for applications. And it came from within our town clerk's office. And it's something that we had been talking about, having to do with records access. And that would be something that will, if we don't get it, I figure if we don't get a committee in the next 2 to 3 weeks, the board will have to decide whether they want to be the actual committee. And I would help whatever support I could with that. But that's the only proposal application we received. And I was going to reference the Chronicle story where Derby is using, I'm not sure whether it's, Catherine, are they using all their ARPA money for the broadband, Yeah. 45,000. Okay.
Derby's using 72,000, so we're out of line from Derby line to the Harvey for
Okay. And that's what piqued my interest to, give to the board some ideas about using some ARPA funds for that. So that's what I have for the ARPA update. Any questions, you guys?
Any suggestions what we can do to get people interested in this?
Better.
Have a cake party?
There's money to be had, and there's, you see people on the street and they're like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. But to get somebody to commit to doing, being on a committee to try to help move this forward seems to be a real obstacle. And
I wouldn't see the committee meeting more than once a week. And I would certainly be available to help with any of the logistics in terms of making copies or whatever of stuff. But yeah, I'm a little surprised. I know that other towns, I know Greensboro has a committee, fairly large committee. And I don't know, I don't know how it's working, but they do have people meeting, so we'll see.
No.
So the other thing is a recycling update. We're looking for an attendant because one of our summer attendants is going to be, her last day is Saturday. This is another thing I'm surprised we don't get more interest in, because
Glover Recycling is a happening place, a lot of community interaction going on there. The stories just fly by. And it's a good thing. It's a really good thing to recycle. People are doing it, but we really need to have someone else on Saturdays after next Saturday. So spread the word. Maybe we should say volunteer. Maybe that's the ticket. Maybe if we say, I don't know.
Volunteers, you don't pay.
No,
I know, but somehow I just wondering if people are feeling more comfortable. Okay, I'll volunteer a couple hours a Saturday, but you know, I don't want to have a job.
you had
It's all about
six
perception.
people on a volunteer list that, you know, may get called every 3 months for a Saturday for a few hours or something. It may be, yeah, maybe less of a feeling that you actually have a job, just, you know, possibly you'll help at some point. You gotta do something.
So yeah, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I may consider requesting from the board a slight increase in the garbage fees. Just because I think it would help defray some of the costs. And I think, you know, $2 for a kitchen bag is pretty cheap. And so I'm gonna probably do a proposal one of the other board meetings.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare it to Coventry, it's definitely cheaper.
Or even, yeah, any of the others,
Yeah, I mean,
a bag like that's gonna be.
And people have been saying, wow, that's a deal.
Yeah, when I miss going to Glover, I'll end up in Coventry on a weekday or something. It's definitely more expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that would be reasonable.
Yeah.
I don't think, you know, I think a buck here and there is not gonna deter somebody from bringing it.
Not for the convenience of it.
I mean, he's right, you know, it's like I've gone to Craftsburg's recycling on Saturday. So, hey, it's like, how you doing? How you been? You know, same thing with.
You get to see Jim and Andy.
Yeah, that is. Jim and Andy, I don't know. It's a good time.
So, yeah, so that's recycling. Website update. So I've been working with Jethro Heyman, who has constructed a dummy site, if you will. He's basically taken a design that's more contemporary. The current website we have was based on a model of 10 to 12 years ago. The new model is going to be more graphic based, more specific to where you want to go. If you want to know about the Energy Committee, it'll be on the front page. You can go right to it. If you want to know more about the Equity Committee, it'll be on the front page of the website. And there'll be links inside those to enable more expanded information. It's basically going to be less clicks to get to where you want to go. And I'm in the process of getting as many photos as I can get of various entities around. I want to get the town crew, the road crew, so that they can easily make announcements. We can do announcements as far as road closures, what's happening when. And so I'm working on the photos. We hope to have this launched, the revised site launched early to mid-August. So I'm meeting with Jethro next week to finalize that.
Question.
Yes,
Usually beta version means that it's open to the public.
this isn't.
Okay.
Did I say beta?
It
It says it beta on the.
Oh,
Oops.
way to catch that, Dan. You have an editor's career.
I know what beta version is.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, Dan. So quit claim update. This is the ongoing struggle to acquire a deed for the property known as the Glover Green. And it's a lot of discussion back and forth between surveyor and attorney, and I'm kind of in the middle. I think we're reaching a point where there's light at the end of the tunnel, that we have finally declared that the plat that will be developed by the surveyor will be used by the attorney to file a petition for the quitclaim. it's a very convoluted process because no one has found the deed. That's why has to be rigorously researched and meticulously documented as to where the points are. And we also have a road that goes through there. So there's an easement, although we don't have, I just learned today, that's not a big issue. So I'm hoping to be optimistic that we may have this process complete before September. That's my projection, and I'm hoping to stick to it. Finally, we had a Shadow Lake watershed action plan kickoff meeting here Tuesday. It was well attended. The Shadow Lake Association, in conjunction with Sarah Amsdell, from the, I'm still getting these agencies straight, but anyways, it was an overall review of what the plan is to assess the water in Shadow Lake, and to, as the objective state in the meeting was to define roles in the partnership, review the work plan, and this will be on the website, I'm pretty sure. I just wanted to highlight that it was a well-attended meeting, a lot of animated conversation with people who are dedicated to both retaining a clean lake and also having it be used effectively. So, and we talked about also, so what about Lake Parker? And I think this will set the stage to look at, because Lake Parker is less than 4 miles away. So from a town perspective, it would be good to look at that too. So, and that's pretty much the report. My first report as town administrator.
Well done.
Woo!
Okay, next item is appointment of delinquent tax collector. I would move Cindy Evanet be appointed to the position of delinquent tax collector.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Here you go. Okay. Out the way. Quarterly financial report. So, got a few questions. One thing I don't, and I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do about diesel. I don't know if anyone has any great ideas. We're at 85% of our budget right now. I don't know where the money's supposed to come from. And how we're supposed to make this work. So we're gonna, Mike's supplies are up 126%. Do you know why? The supplies are at $3,700.
Cindy and I took care of
Okay.
it. She had some stuff
And culverts, is some of the culvert money gets them transferred to grants, so that'll be back in line where it should be.
Yes,
Okay.
and several people have purchased culverts that we have just built,
Yeah,
so it will be,
okay.
it should be right back into in line.
Town hall, we got, our oil was at 252% of what it should be. I assume that the replacement of the oil tank, that should probably be taken from the property reserve fund, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. That, we can do that.
Isn't that pretty much the idea of that business?
Yep.
Do you have to vote on that?
No. That's what it's there for. The fire department, insurance is up 117%. So it's, is that because of being reclassified as a nonprofit that maybe they were? Maybe on that one.
No, I don't know why.
And their oil bill is at 110% of budget.
I'm wondering with the insurance, since they hadn't been registered as a nonprofit, were we still paying insurance for the last X amount of years?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, if all of a sudden, now that they're back as a nonprofit, if we get go.
It'd be good to see what was expended in the last 3 years for that.
And the other question I had, I don't know if you can answer, is as far as wastewater goes, propane's at 533%. You're gonna $200 spent on propane for the wastewater. Something's askew there.
Actually, they don't use a whole lot, but all of the stations needed to be replenished. They were down pretty far. So I can research and get a solid figure. But last year, probably we didn't spend as much. So
We budgeted less.
we budgeted less.
Is this the same propane that runs the generator?
Yes, the back,
Okay,
our backup
so
generators.
I will tell you that back in late spring, Adam talked to me about whether it was okay to use the generator, because they were gonna either, I think they were going to disconnect the line to do some maintenance. And it meant a day using the generator. And I said at the time, sure, go ahead, thinking, what's a day gonna be? But that may have contributed.
But that's only one generator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are all the generators I believe at the pump stations, and whatnot, that are backup.
yeah.
So it may just be that we filled a lot of tanks all at once, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll research that and get the answer.
Okay. Health officer appointment. Nick is the health officer and his term ends August 22nd, I believe. So we're gonna need to find someone to be health officer. So anybody interested? Love to bring you on board. Dan, that might be a good job for you.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that. If not, it falls. So I'm told to the select board.
I'm not exactly what you would call diplomatic.
You're working on it, Tony, and working.
Yeah, right.
So did you want ads to go in the paper?
Yeah, or either the paper or on,
We can do it on Facebook and Front Porch Forum.
let's try that and see what we get.
Want me just to draft that up?
Sure. I don't think it involves a lot, but we need to have something that,
Yeah, what does it entail?
I'm not, it's.
I mean, I'm sure Nick goes above and beyond.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, it's a lot to do with water, it has to do with the septic around the lakes.
Yeah.
If I get a house that's got 4 tons of garbage piled out front of it, it's causing an issue for its tenants and people around it, that kind of thing.
Do you feel like if your renting space is unsafe, your landlord hasn't been responsive to
Yeah.
keeping it clean and or safe, then you can call the health officer.
Maybe we could, in that ad, put
A little link to explain what the role is.
what the role is and what somebody might be
Yeah, I mean, there's
expecting.
probably an explanation on the VLCT website.
Yeah, but there's also the state, it's connected to the health department.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
And the health department will get information, if the health officer will get information from the health department routinely on what's happening. But, yeah, I think the LCT will probably have, I'll check both.
Okay.
Next item is town hall renovations. We need to, there's a few things that really need to be done to this place that we've been neglecting. One thing the town has asked, the town crew has asked, is that we either remove this little roof over the door on the side or raise it because of the, with the new truck we have, it's not adequate, it's too close, we're gonna hit it. There's clapboards down there that need to be replaced. We need new front steps. We have $10,000 in the $10,000 in the property reserve. We need to figure something out. Just some of the, like the clapboards in the front porch need to be addressed before winter. As to either the little roof can be taken off and that can be replaced next summer, or do we come up with a different plan? I mean, it's in the way, right?
Yeah, if it doesn't get taken down this summer, we'll take it down this summer.
Yeah.
How much higher would it have to be?
2 foot.
And I don't know if it's gonna, if you moved it up 3 foot, is it going to actually do what it needs to be doing, or
Go without it.
don't think we can go
I
to
don't think we can go without it. Injure people, snow coming off or.
Yeah,
So do you think if we went up higher and maybe instead of having a double pitch, had a single pitch roof, it would help you as far as clearance and still do the same kind of thing?
Yeah, as long as it's 2 foot higher than what it is.
You may, in order to make up for the 2 foot higher, you may want to make it go out farther.
Yeah. Well, that's some of the suggestions I have. I know if you look down by where the kitchen is, there's clapboards that are gone.
Yeah.
And there's basically holes into the kitchen almost, so that's gonna be taken care of.
Have you all ever, with the reservation trust for funding for improvements in this area?
I don't think we have that I know of.
So they have, you know, their focus is preserving and protecting buildings, and they have a particular pot of funding, the Freeman Foundation funding, and that's specifically targeted at the Northeast Kingdom only, so that's a special, and they only like funding buildings once, and so they've gone through a lot of the buildings in Vermont, and so if you all have access to Freeman funding for, you know, upgrades and repairs to the building, that might be. I can call a link to that with Brian.
That would be
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
appreciated. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, you would also mention municipal improvements through NVDA, right?
Yeah, so I think that's a longer timeline.
Yeah,
But for we need something
Yeah.
short term.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Okay, last item is the June report from Orleans County Sheriff. We had not too much going on, which is nice to hear. One ticket, couple warnings. All in all, pretty good month. All we have to do is sign orders.
I got a question.
Okay, then.
Does Glover have an emergency shelter?
Yes,
A designated emergency shelter? Where is
the
it?
school.
The school?
I'm pretty sure it's a school, yes.
Is it still the school since it switched over? Okay.
I thought it was a fire station.
I did too.
I think it's and or.
I know that when the fire station was built, it was supposed to be the second floor, there was gonna be the emergency place, and that never really took root.
I
And
just heard.
I can look at I can email you, Dan, let you know, because it's on the emergency management plan. But I'm pretty sure it's a school, because they've got a cafeteria, they've got bathrooms, they have a gym for all that, and I'm 90-ish% sure that's,
Just curious.
yeah,
They have a generator now. The
Yeah.
school's a generator now, right?
I believe they do.
Yeah, I think it did switch out. They didn't, it was the fire station before,
Mhm.
pretty sure because of the generator. And then the school was about the generator. And that switched.
Do they, I heard that they need a tractor to power.
Well, that was before. That was the issue before, why it wasn't the emergency shelter, because they had to get Ken Moore and there, somebody to come down with a PTO driven generator. To power it, and I know there's been a couple times it's happened over the years, but I think since they've got the full on automatic standby generator,
Okay.
I think. I'm holding that. It's been a while. I know that the school is right. But at one point it was the fire station. You know, we used it. It's available.
Anybody else have any questions? No?
I just wanted to, on behalf of the Shadow Lake Association, I was kind of appointed the road liaison, and we talked.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say on behalf of everybody on Shadow Lake that the town road crew just did an excellent job. They were so great to listen to people and try to help people, and, you know, it's a two-way street. And I think things are getting better on the lake as far as, and I just want to say that the crew did an excellent job. And as we talked before, I just retired after 52 years of waterworks and working on highways and drainage and stuff like that. And they couldn't have done it better than what they did. It's fantastic.
Thanks for your work on doing that.
That's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Are you a public comment?
Sure, absolutely.
I just have a question, it's kind of far, but I'm curious to know what this one was, this was, to move the welcome to Glover sign further south on 16.
Well, we were
And there's been a
losing.
little history of that, I'll explain, but I'm just curious to know.
Oh, okay, well, I'll explain our reason. We put all the welcome sign up and then by the next morning it was gone. It was on private property. And so our feeling was that we'd get better visual out there and it would be on town property. And with the equity committee, there were some people that wanted to go ahead and get the sheriffs involved and whatnot and my thought was if we moved it out there, put it on town property, if somebody does something to damage it or deface it, we have a leg to stand on. If it's on somebody's private property, and something happens to it, it's, you know, what are you gonna do? And for one, you get a net that's got a lot better visual.
It does, and I just want to say that back in the 70s, when Dad was, and the Scouts, was part of the time, very instrumental in getting the signs, as welcome to Glover signs for each of the villages. And their purpose was to welcome to the village. I don't see how moving it further south is part of the village anymore, but if the idea with the downtown revitalization and with all that stuff and the planning, you know, would there be something else going back to delineate the village and stuff?
Well,
I'm
gonna be honest with you.
I understand why.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that I agree with that in the sense that it's still town property, whether it's on private property or not, that's been there forever. If somebody damages the sign, the town has every right to go after the person who damaged their property.
Mhm.
But that's neither here nor there. I just found it out, and if the reason is like the sign and stuff, the equity signs, putting it further out of the village where it's not seen as much, maybe, or does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I will tell you that I was not aware there was supposed to be a welcome to the village of Glover. I thought we were under the,
Yeah.
there was a welcome to
that
the town
many
of
people-
Glover.
I don't know that many people are left that know the history of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's the other one down at the town
Mhm.
line, that's always been for the last 50 years for me, that's been the lower village. So the town
Right.
line delineated the village. I know in the early 70s, my mom was the village clerk, and there was actually a Glover village and a West Glover village, and then they dissolved those, and it's all town now. But at the time, the village was from the town line to just up before Green Mountain Fence.
Mhm.
Green Mountain Fence was not in the village. Devin Howard Tommy's old house, or newer house, wasn't there at the time, but basically Dean Dinah's place was the last place in the village
Mhm.
proper. And that was the impetus for those signs, as is the sign up in West Glover. I don't know, I'm not sure if there's one coming from County
There's
Road.
one,
into
there's
Glover,
one
there's
on
one-
Glover Brook.
There's
There's
one
one on the bottom of Bean Hill.
yes, yeah, and again, those were welcome to West Glover Village. And they've been maybe changed over the years, but the intent of those signs, I can tell you from when they were installed, was as welcome to the village signs.
Right.
you know, it is what it is.
Without the village on there, I guess,
Well, I understand.
we.
Well, there is no village, legal entity in the village. There's the so-called, you know.
I can say that's been out there for a few weeks and nobody's messed with it, so,
No,
I mean,
Well, it took 2 weeks for people to notice it was up.
yeah.
the only reason I know it was up there is I noticed it was missing.
Yeah.
From where it was, and I'm like, oh shit, not only did they steal the welcome, all welcome, sign, they stole the whole thing. And then somebody else had said, no, it's further up. And I took a ride up to see where it was. I was a little perplexed by it.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to share with you what the intent was back in the day.
Would you, if you wanna get something, if you want it moved, I mean, we can put a petition out or something.
No, I think it's.
It was all, I can tell you, it was all done with good intent.
And that's the reason why it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the fact that it's up there versus where it was. I've lived in the village pretty much my whole life. I'm pretty proud of the village. This is my home, so, you know, my parents, my grandparents, they were all very, very active in the town and town politics over the years. Something I fortunately stayed out of.
Conflict of interest?
In the discussion of these signs months ago, we looked at the equity committee signs, it was also a discussion point that I believe, and you would know this, that those welcome to Glover, West Glover signs were installed during the bicentennial.
Yeah, 76. They were
Yeah.
put in as part of the whole.
So they're probably due for an upgrade.
I don't dispute that at all, though they have been, the one I know in part of mine was dilapidated pretty bad, and bad condition several years ago. And somebody, I don't know who, somebody redid the whole sign and made it exactly the way that it was when the original sign was put out. I don't know if the one up here was ever remodeled. Was it newer?
It was
Which age?
Yeah, Kevin Shaw, yeah, did it years
It
ago.
might very well have been the Glover Bicentennial Committee that redid those in subsequent years. I don't hold me to that part, but you know, back when.
We should be able to figure that out by looking at the sign.
It had something scribbled on it.
Mine,
When it was incorporated, it'd be 200 years after it was incorporated, right?
but it
83.
was, Glover was chartered in 1790.
1783.
So it'd be
83, yeah, it was
So
1983.
maybe they were,
Town plus.
yeah.
But yeah, those were put up in the nation's bicentennial
Oh,
in
okay.
76.
So we
I
thought-
still have some of the artifacts from that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, I mean, the speed sign needs to be kept trimmed at times, and then just on a
That's right.
completely side note, going down into West Belver Village is not legally posted as far as the speed goes. You get up by Bean Hill, or you get up by Lyman Lane, there's the N 35 mph sign, and when you come down into the village, it's just before the bridge, there's speed limit 25.
Yeah, it goes from 50 to 25.
Going from 50 to 25, yeah, over to the uniform traffic, and you have to have a reduced speed ahead sign. That's all I have to say. Not that, I mean, I can just, that's what I did for 30 years. I can see this stuff when I go around and pick out what's gonna stand up in court and what's not. So,
Gotcha. All right, well, we'll look into that. Anything else from anyone? Good. I guess we're good. Thank you all for coming.
So this is adjourned, right? I'll stop the recording.